Can we talk about stages of spiritual development? I remember very well the conversation you and I had when I mentioned that having children pushed me very much out of my selfishness. And I suggested at that time that I felt that I was quite spiritually developed thanks to my children because I was so unselfish as a mother, sacrificing myself every day to my 3 children. And your reaction at the time really surprised me because you basically said, oh, that's actually a very low level of spiritual development. And we argued a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is exactly when you gave me that book, Vedanta,
Yeah.
which of course describes different levels of spiritual growth very, very well. But I'd love you to talk about it.
So, I mean, would you have the same attitude if they weren't your kids?
The same attitude.
If it's someone else's child, would you do the same thing for someone else's child?
No.
Right. So it's the mindness in it, right?
Yeah.
And it's that mindness which is the selfishness. It's me, my family, my kids, my house, my business. That's within your sphere. The idea is doing something outside of yourself, outside of your self-centered interest. So things that don't have the my attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Holding the door open for somebody, letting someone go in traffic. Those small things that you can do, which has no benefit to you whatsoever. And so that's why I think if you're doing something for yourself or you're doing something for your child, it's really you're doing it for yourself. It's just a version of you.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said to me, that it's basically I care for them more than I care for myself. So it's just a version of you personified in another form. So obviously it's great, but your home should be the center of your affection, not the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
So start with yourself, make sure you're okay, make sure your family are okay. And then how do we expand that? How do we look at the community? How do we look at the country? How do we look at civilization? How do we look at all living beings? How do we keep evolving our eccentric circles? That's why, I said that to you at the time. But so in the Gita, he talks about different levels of charity. It's great. Charity is great. Even the lowest level is the best. It's great, better than no charity. But the lowest form is economic, right? So writing a check. So I can write a check to a charity. Yes, it hurts, for 5 minutes, but it's okay, right? Then a little higher than that is physical. So I could help you move house. If I come and help you actually physically move, that's higher. Higher than that is emotional. So being there for someone, giving them emotional support. Higher than emotional is intellectual. So helping, as they say, teach a man to fish. So actually applying yourself intellectually. But he says the highest actually is self-development. Why? So if you develop yourself, every situation you come into, every decision you make is going to be for the betterment of other people. So that's the sort of the ladder of charity.
So it's okay to act in self-interest because that benefits the rest of us.
It's about getting self-knowledge, right? So self-development. If I'm strong physically, then other people, I'm not a burden on other people, right? If they tell you when you get on the airplane, put your mask on first even before the children. It's important. You have to you have to make sure you're okay, you feel full, and then you can give and you can serve.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to understand your true nature, have these values, understand yourself, have the correct way of thinking, and then for the benefit of others, ultimately.
Beautifully explained. Thank you.
Thanks.
So let's go back to your life.
Please.
So you sold your business. You had this idea that you really wanted to teach philosophy.
Yeah.
So how did you go about it?
As I said, it was teach it. Then I realized, well, I'll mentor. So I think talking to people who are quite old already, are quite set in their ways. So I said, let me look at the next generation and let me have these discussions with them, and have it more of a discussion. So I started mentoring for YNG, which is the kids of YPOs. But I believe actually, if you can change the mind of a CEO, right? If a CEO has a value of unselfishness, that will filter down to his key management, that will go down into the business. Those people will go home, talk to their spouses, teach their kids those values, and hopefully that kid will go and share with his friend on the playground. Right? So you can have I believe maximum impact is the people at the top. So that was my journey. So I've been, as like conversations that you and I have had, or anyone who's interested in self-development or looking for some sort of direction, that's how I was doing it in one-on-one discussions. As I said, by investing in businesses, I've invested in we have one of the largest security training provider companies in the UK, get licensed. The founder came to me and said, look, I want to create an app. Well, what's the app going to do? So they get a license, right? Then they want to find jobs. They come for jobs. They don't come for just a license. So the app basically was to educate a potential security guard. He does his course, puts his license number in, and then there's lots of jobs, and his CV gets sent automatically. So I've taken somebody basically who doesn't have a license, give them a license, give them a job, and now they're protecting society. Great, and that can just keep evolving. So those discussions, because I think now the church has kind of gone. People used to go to Sunday school and they'd go to church on Sundays, and that's kind of been pushed aside. So where are people getting their values from today? From businesses. So what are your goals? What's your mission? When you're a CEO, but these millennials or even Gen Z, they're like, so what's the purpose of this business? So trying to get the values from the company. So I think if you can infuse these higher values in these companies, you're gonna hopefully get the maximum results.